Oh baby, welcome back to Soul Mechanics. All please step into my office. We got a brand new desk, so go ahead and feel free to have a seat right there behind it. Sit down. Jesus Christ. We have a fairly decent amount of space here, so time is allotted. It's my day off, and I got nothing better to be doing at the moment, so let's ramble in tangents. As I said, this course is going to be tangential for the most part. I'm gonna speak my mind on the topics that we're gonna touch upon here. So, we're gonna try to start this course off with a bang here. The Sidetracks course, speaking to karma, and my concept of karma differs a little from most people's. I believe it's more mathematical, and as I said, we're gonna have a scientific approach to things here. So, it's going to be a kind of a mathematical view on karma, which, in my perspective, karma is essentially going to be like a system of lux. We have the laws of attraction in place, so it seems fairly obvious to me how karma is actually going to be working here, because A, we have the laws of attraction, which is one of the basic fundamental systems of existence, period. Then we have the system of value and aspects, which that's going to be the groundwork. That's going to be bottom line, coming off of what they call the source field, or the unified field. Which, if you haven't looked into the unified field theory, check out John Hagelin's work. It's pretty important as regards this, but obviously I'm not going to take the time to cover everything that he's already done. That's why he's here. He's done it. So go look at his shit if you want to know more about, the scientific approach to essentially what is God, what is the God concept, the source field of everything. And what emanates from this source field essentially is going to be values. Values, and then aspects come off of that. What aspects are, let's go ahead and try to lay the groundwork here before we carry on into this. We can do several videos, it doesn't matter. Value essentially is the idea behind a thing. It's the concept of a thing, the build for it. It's going to be like the code. If you were considering life, a lot of people want to consider life for whatever reason to be a simulation nowadays. That's, I'm not even going to get into that here. We'll cover that. That's just, I'm going to state that it's fucking absurd. Like, people just, and they have the most ridiculous reasoning behind this. Like, they state that life must be a simulation because we'll get into it. I'm gonna do videos on that. But for anybody who's thinking life is a simulation, just kind of go ahead and try to ask yourself, a simulation of what? Anyways, one second. Oh, come on. Karma is going to be based on the values. We were speaking of values, I forgot. Sorry. Value essentially is the concept behind a thing, like the build for it. If you were considering life to be like a simulation or a video game, the value would essentially be the code that makes a thing happen, like the HTML of existence. But, dude, are you serious? So, value is just like, say there's a God. Say that there's a God existing, and it's existing in the void, and it's creating reality from scratch, from nothing. Value is going to be like the idea, the concept, wherein God says, you know what, I'm going to create, again, we'll use the chair. I love, because obviously I love the chair. I want to create something to sit on. Now, obviously, in this phase, people haven't been created yet. The basic groundwork of life hasn't even been created yet. Laws haven't even been placed. So we're taking a leap here. It's a stretch. But, say God's considering itself to be a person, which it's not. But, it is technically. We'll get into that. But say God's considering itself to be a person and have legs and an ass. I want something to sit on. So the concept of a chair is going to be that, the reason for it. And that's what values are, reasons, or reasonings rather. And instead of reasons like, you might have a reason to go to the store because you need eggs, okay? that's your reason for doing something, but the ultimate reason behind it is going to be sustenance, food, hunger even. So that's going to be the value there. You have the value in play is I'm hungry and I need food. Is going to be I require sustenance. Ultimately, is going to be the value. That would actually turn out to be a kind of a collection of values. But then there's going to be aspects that pop off of that. The aspects are created by our reflection of it. So what aspects are attached to values is us looking at the time, like the timing of a thing in reverse, which the values are what creates the timing. And values are, it's really difficult to explain. I suppose values would be kind of like the four-dimensional aspect of it. Where actually the four-dimensional aspect is the perspective, the observation of it. The fourth dimension is where reflection comes into play, and it's where time-space folds into itself to become a reflective aspect. And again, that's the aspect that's going to pop off of the value when you look at it. For example, you're going to the store to get eggs. You like eggs. Eggs are good. That's one aspect. Eggs have protein. That's another aspect. But then again, there are going to be other values and aspects attached to that egg, such as the egg is like origin. The egg is kind of a symbol representing origin, representing birth, representing whatever it's called when something is in the formative stage of development. The fetus is in the womb. It's the same thing. The egg, the womb, they're representative of birth, of origination. So that's a value that's there, and there's going to be many values. These codes. Reasonings. They're not reasons, they're reasonings. And many of these codes are going to come together in compilation to create a thing. That egg has many values that make up what it is. Deeper values of the egg are going to be origin, birth, creation, essentially. It's, again, whatever that word is, I can't remember the word right now, I lost it. But, whatever the word is for something forming in the womb, so to speak. That's going to be a value, the deeper value, but the surface value is going to be edible sustenance, protein, and there's many values in between there that make up the coloration of it, the configuration, the circular kind of the circular form of it, the symmetry of it. There's going to be a whole hell of a lot of values, like you can't even count them, that go into making that egg happen. But then there are aspects that pop off of it, such as, I suppose we'll go take a leap here. If you're dealing with the concept of abortion or the idea of abortion, that egg is actually going to have aspects attached to it in that along the lines of that consideration, wherein if you're anti-abortion, you actually might have kind of a shitty feeling toward the egg itself, and you don't know why. I don't like eggs, and it might be because you're against abortion, and that egg is representative of the formative construct of a fetus. You know what I mean? Maybe you don't know what I mean. This is a little complicated. It's very difficult to understand values. Like I said, check out Robert M. Pierce's Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. That covers a lot of it. He's going to use the term quality in representation of what I call value, and his ideologies will differ a little from mine, but he's pretty much got it down. So, values exist, pretty much is what I'm trying to get across here. Values exist and they make up everything that's happening. Then there are aspects attached to the value that are your reflective consideration of what it is and what it means to you. Aspects are meaning. Values are reasonings, primary reasonings, basic bottom line origin factors, the code that makes up the thing. It pretty much the code that makes up the happening of a thing. Then values are meanings, where, as I said, values are reasonings, aspects are meanings. Sorry, I fucked that up, but we'll keep going. Keep pressing on. There was somebody at work, by the way, just to update on that, man, I smashed my hand I got blisters all over my feet. I burned myself all over the fucking place, and I got beat to shit. However, something that is an aspect of the impulse, the Kundalini impulse, a cool ability that it gives you, at least it gives me, and other people have mentioned this too who have activated it, that as your metabolism, your rate of energy production boosts and gets higher and higher, and as you begin to move faster and faster, and time stretches out, so you're actually spending more time in compact measurements, working my muscles, as I've been doing here, picking up these enormous heavy car parts and carrying them, it was extremely difficult. I couldn't even pick up and move the biggest part on my own. They took me off of that because I just couldn't do it, and they put me on gathering up what they call the tooling, which is the hangers and shit. They come off the low bar on the line. But then the next day, the following day, yesterday, I was able to pick up that biggest part with ease, because in fact it doesn't take so long for my muscles to catch up. I work my muscles one day, I rest, and at least get about 3 to 4 hours rest if I'm able. And my time is, I have time now, but for the most part, usually my time is spent in advance, so I don't really have a lot of time to rest. But when I do, I rest for maybe 3 to 4 hours. I wake up, and those muscles are already, I've already acquired the boost in strength that one would get, lifting weights, for example, for like a week. I can get that improvement in one day. So that's something that's one benefit of having that impulse activated and boosting your speed and your metabolism. You're gonna be able to enhance your body very fast. So and this is what I'm speaking about when I say we need people moving faster and improve your speed. That's going to be one of the aspects of that. Anyways, so you have values and aspects in play. Now, in my mind, karma is going to be like a system of luck based on that, because the laws of attraction respond to those values, or rather, really the laws of attraction are responding to what you're emanating. And that's going to be your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. When you take action, whatever action you take, most especially using words and speech, which are the three things you're going to get if you read Conversations with God, is going to be thought, word, and deed. Those are your primary tools for creation. The words that you use and how you use them, and most especially over the course of a narrative, when you're speaking, you're suggesting something to somebody, or you're having a conversation of any sort, your inflection has implications that come off of it. So you can use a word in various different ways. One word can mean so many different things depending on the inflection that you use. But whatever you imply, most especially through your words, through your actions, taking action in general, and the actions that you take are going to be affected by the implications of your thoughts and feelings, which we're going to most often refer to as being intuition, or think of as being intuition. So your thought, your word, your deed, and essentially your overall action, whatever implications you put into play, those become values that the laws of attraction are going to respond to. Now, what determines these implications is going to be the values in your value system that make up your person. And you're going to have values that you're entirely unaware of. You really have to do some self-examination, and really that's what the purpose of meditation is. Actual meditation. And as Sak said in Way of the Peaceful Warrior, if you manage to read that, Sak said meditate in every moment. That means really pay attention to what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and what it means to you. You have to see what aspects are in play. And that's, where we get the term spotter. And the idea, the concept of being a spotter is paying attention to what your thoughts and feelings are implying. Paying attention to what your actions are implying, and actually directly, operatively managing what you imply. So, the implications that, and you're going to find that this is the case if you play around with it, if you're paying attention, if you do manage to meditate in every moment, you're going to find that what you put into play insofar as regards your implications is going to have direct and almost immediate effects, especially if you have this Kundalini impulse active and you're moving faster. For example, a minute can span out into even an hour, really, now for me. But, I mean, and we're going to get into how you do that. You can actually make this happen. However, as it stands, in my case, it's a little precarious because I don't know how to bring it back. I stretch out time, and it's like, let's say it's like a vagina. You stretch it out, and it's stretched. Sorry for the ladies. I had to throw that one in there, but it's like something that you stretch. You know, time is a substance. It exists. It's time, and this is why we use the term time mechanics for our theories and our thesis. Is time is the fabric of reality. That's what, when we refer to time, that's what it is. But time is relative. Each person is experiencing their own time frame, and you can stretch that time out. And I haven't really figured out how to do it with other people yet. I can't stretch their time out. I have done it on a few occasions, and people have actually remarked about it to me. But for the most part, I can't figure out how to actually do it, like make it happen myself. Kind of accidentally done it. I will figure it out. I'm moving faster and faster every day, so I will figure it out eventually. But the thing is that once it's stretched out, I don't know how to put it back. And I'm thinking that must be kind of like working a muscle, like muscle memory, for example. That's perfect. That's spot on. I hadn't thought of that yet. Thank you, audience. You gave me a boost there. Now I know what I'm looking for. But yeah, it's like a muscle. So the time stretches out. Maybe you have to work it in order to pull it back, because I can't. My time is always stretched out. Now I don't know how to put it back, and that can get to be a really, really rough scenario to be in when you're waiting for something, especially something that's exciting, and you get anxious about it, and you get impatient. That impatience is going to be fucking hugely exacerbated, because it's just the time carries on and on and on and on and on. When I'm at work, those 10 hours, I feel like I've gotten to know everybody there like family now already, 3 days, because that 10 hours lasts, holy shit, long fucking time. I can't even tell you how long, but I've spent a lot of time on this job. Anyways, that's another thing, is spending time. People don't really pay attention to the terms that they use for the most part, but that's a common term that everybody uses, spending time. They don't realize that you're actually purchasing something. You pay attention. You spend the time. There's a reason why we use those terms. You are purchasing experiences, and you are purchasing value. That's where value comes into play. That's why we're using the term value, because it's what the time you spend, the attention you pay is worth. It's the worth of a thing. And coming back to that very concept of what is valuable, the worth of a thing is going to be its reasoning, its general purpose, why it exists, what's making it happen. That's the value of it. So I guess that can bring us a little closer to understanding what I'm getting at with this and the terms that I'm putting into play here. It really, I know it seems convoluted, but it really touches at the basic fabric of reality. It gets right down to the basics, and it makes it as simple as is possible if you understand the mechanics of it, and that is why we have soul mechanics. So anyway, my idea here is that karma is essentially how the laws of attraction are reacting to you. It's what happens to you based on the values you have in place. So it's more like a system of lux than a system of compensation. But ultimately, yes, it is a system of compensation, because it's value. It's your value, the exchange of the values that you have and what you put into play. So if you pay attention to the values that you have constructing your value system, and especially the implications that you're putting into play as you move about in the game, you have a firmer understanding of the fabric of reality and how it operates. You have a firmer understanding of why your life is moving in the direction that it is, why the things that are happening to you are happening. That's essentially what values are, I could say, is the why of a thing. And that's what spotters are looking for. We're always looking for the why. Always ask why. Always. That's what the implication is. That's what's implied, is the why of a thing. Why it's happening, why you're doing it, just why in general. And when you get down to the basic rock bottom purchase, you're going to get to asking the why of existence itself. Why does this exist? And that's going to be the pursuit of the meaning of life, you know? So everybody's been doing that forever. We have this idea that people are searching for the meaning of life. We want to know what's the meaning of life. Well, I don't think a lot of people really take into consideration what that's implying and what that really means. It's asking why, and this is where the God concept comes in. This is why we require the God concept, because we have to place a persona. We have to qualify existence as being a personality, or we have to assign the idea of an identity to the very nature of existence, because without that, we have no foundation, we have no construct by which, construct. We have no system by which to even approach the question. The meaning of life, it doesn't even make any sense without the concept of an initial persona existing. So that's where the God concept comes in. That's what the God concept is. That's why we created it. That's why we put so much in. We invested so much time, and that's, again, investment. Unconditional investment is what love is. That's what we consider God to be, and we come back to placing and essentially a framework of personality on the concept of love itself, which is unconditional investment. Investment being the purchase, the consideration of how much value you place into something, and it being unconditional is consolidating all of the value. It's encompassing everything, because it is unconditional, therefore it is without condition. It means any which way you look at it, whatever happens, doesn't matter, you're invested in it. And that's what love is. That's like when you speak to a romantic love. You're in love with somebody. If you're in love with somebody, it doesn't matter what they do. It doesn't matter how bad they are, how wrong they are, it doesn't matter how far they go. You are invested in them. Maybe you don't like them, but you love them. Maybe they do something atrocious. Maybe they badmouth you or your mama. Maybe they fucking kill somebody. If you're in love with them, you're going to be invested in them. You're going to try and pull them back. You might not like what they do. You might be disgusted with what they do, but you're invested in their being. So, essentially that, I think you can get what I'm trying to get at here, but what we have with the God concept is the idea that there is an actual identity investing in us, unconditionally investing in us. No matter what we do, no matter what happens, it's invested, and it's going to do what it can to try and guide us, direct us, bring us back into being essentially a kind and loving person. Teach us how to be loving as it is and be more like it. And speaking to the asking why is it invested in us. That's what the concept of seeking a meaning of life is. It's asking why this God figure is invested in us, why it created us, why it's doing what it's doing, why it's being what it's being, which it is in fact being us at the moment. It's wearing you as a suit. It's wearing your personality and the configuration of values that make up your personality, your identity, essentially you're a figment. You are a mask that this God is wearing and peering through your perspective. In order to approach the question of why God is what it is and it's doing what it's doing, You have to move back to a first-person perspective, a first-person spectacle, as in you have to view everything as though it is all one thing. It's all coming from one point, and it's all happening in one time. You have to try and pull everything back in this single point of reference, and view everything as though it's all happening right now. Like if you read the Bible from a first-person perspective and you make note to look at it as though everything is happening right now, that what you read in that Bible is applicable to what is happening right now and is applicable to our overall society, you're going to find extraordinary values presented, because as I said before, the meaning, the value of a thing, the reality of a thing gets through the shifting glyphs. That it's all shifting glyphs that are happening immediately in your immediate perspective, and so it's going to make miraculous sense to you. It's the immaculate conception. It's all existing, boom, right now. Like there is no Big Bang. In ultimate reality, there is no origin of the Big Bang. It's happening right now. Everything is exploding from this point, right here and now. Which now plus here equals nowhere. That's one of the primary factors that brings you back to the baseline. And that's where spotters can begin to approach the boundary, which is if we can identify what the boundary is, and we can identify that source, and we can identify that ultimate meaning behind why is this happening right now, that's beginning to approach the concept of an absolute situation, which is what we are trying to do, what spotters have been trying to do forever and ever, and really what we need to be doing now. So what I'm saying about karma is essentially, let's consider that perhaps if you reincarnate, which we'll visit reincarnation later, but if you do reincarnate, and your soul, which again is not really a soul, I suppose you could say it's going to be like, again, if you're considering life to be a game, like a simulated game, which is not a simulation, but it is a game. If you consider it to have like a save file, wherein, say, God is playing this game as you're the character that God created. Consider yourself to be the player. You're the player of the game. You created this character for a reason. And those values make up a system of information. That system of information essentially is your persona, who you are. Your thoughts, your feelings, and the culmination of the implications attached to your actions. And that code is going to make up what we could consider to be like a save file in a game. You carry that save file over to the next game. You don't have the memories of it, because the memories are not the reality of it. The memories are not what it is. Those memories are only applicable to the context of your immediate situation. But when you carry the save file over, what carries is the values. And then you begin the next life, the next game, with that value system in play, and it's going to cultivate and rearrange itself and become something new, even through the formative years of your life. Growing into adolescence and then becoming an adult, you already have an entirely altered value system. These values are shifting all the time, and that's what the shifting glyphs are. These values are speaking. But as I was saying, the ultimate reality, the story that's being told, the meaning and the truth of a thing is going to get through no matter how hard people try to hide it. When people wrote the Bible, essentially they were trying to hide the truth. They were trying to lie to you. But the voice of God gets through it if you just know how to look at it, if you know how to see it. And that's what a spotter is. A spotter learns how to read the world, how to read existence and the happening of it. Not many people have adopted that first-person spectacle. That's something new that Soul Mechanics is bringing into play. Other people have done it, I'm sure, but I haven't seen it. So that's one of the new things that's being brought into play here with Soul Mechanics and this perspective on karma, that you have values in play that are essentially speaking to the laws of attraction and causing a reaction. You're having a constant conversation with the world. And if you read Conversations with God, you'll get an idea of this. You are constantly communicating with the world through your behavior, through your body language. You know, that's why we call it body language, because it's communicating, and you're communicating with other people. You're communicating. Animals read body language. Animals respond to body language. They don't have a vocal language as we do. They read your implications, and they're very acute at doing that. If you notice, animals are going to know when you're upset. Animals are going to know when you're sickly. Animals are going to know when you're sick before you do. If you're not even going to feel it or notice the symptoms of it. The animals, they already know, because your body is communicating it to them, and you're unaware of it. But if you pay attention, you learn how to read it, and you just meditate in every moment. Pay attention to the implications and examine the whys and, you know, the reasonings behind your actions, your thoughts, your feelings, your behaviors. Examine the reasoning as to why you are being what you're being in every moment, and you're going to find astounding things. You are constantly communicating things that are resounding, and you're getting feedback from the game itself all the time. I think that's as much as I want to say here, as I'm just dragging on. We're going to carry into another video. Thank you all for watching, though. Keelah, Taerve, siari. Namaste.